Start with some introductions. So my name is Kate Jones and I am one of the principal development leads on the Mathematics Mastery primary programme from Mark Curriculum Plus. My role is to support schools and trusts with the implementation of the programme. So part of my role is to provide the in-school support and the school training. And I've been working with the organisation now for the last 5 or so years. And then prior to that, I was a class teacher and a maths leader and a middle leader in a trust in West London. I have got my colleague on the call today as well. Ravi, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hi everyone. My name is Ravi Mahindru and I am the design lead for Mathematics Mastery. I've been here for about a year now. Previous to this role, I was a class teacher and a member of the SLT for 13 years.
Thanks, Ravi. Apologies about the slight sound issue. We're in the same room and had a little bit of an echo, so apologies for that. But Ravi will be manning or womaning the Q&A feature. So if you do have questions throughout this webinar, you can post them. And we're using the webinar functionality today. So as well as the chat, you'll find on your menu an option that says Q&A. If you've got a question, please be popping those into that feature throughout, and Ravi will be able to answer all of those questions as we go live. And if there's anything we feel we can bring up together, we can discuss those as well. So please feel free to interact. Use this opportunity today to get any questions you have out there, no matter how specific or how silly they might seem. Please do ask away. So on our agenda today, we're going to be thinking about what the Mathematics Mastery programme is, but more importantly, how it can really benefit schools and your school in particular, perhaps. And then throughout, we're going to be thinking about success and impact stories. Okay, and then hopefully by the end of this webinar, we'll be thinking about how your next steps in accessing the programme, if you wish to, on the EEF subsidy. So I wanted to start by just talking a little around the EEF subsidy and how we sort of got there. So we're in a fortunate, the great position where we can offer our programme over this year and next year and possibly beyond at a highly discounted rate. And how did we get into that position? Or put it quite simply, what we do works in schools and our impact has been recognised by independent bodies and by our partner schools and feedback as well. So the Education Endowment Foundation, or the EEF, found in an independent review that pupils who are using our Subject Excellent programme on average make 2 months additional progress to those who are not using our programme. And you can see here some impact from our partner school feedback, including 97% of our partner schools indicating that the programme is having a positive effect on pupil progress in their schools. So we're going to go into what is the Mathematics Mastery programme to begin with. And we're going to start by just stating that our programme is a not-for-profit organisation, and that's really important to us as an organisation, that we are driven by our mission to support pupils. And our vision as a programme is for every child, and we mean every child, no matter what their background, to enjoy and succeed in mathematics. Now, our mission, with that in mind, is to transform mathematics education in the UK by both working directly with our partner schools and our influence on the wider education in the UK. How do we do that? Well, we work in partnership with our schools. So we work very closely with schools to transform the practice so that there's high quality teaching. We do that by putting the teacher first, by empowering them and leaders to deliver that quality, high class teaching and world class mathematics education. So a little bit about where we came from. So we were born out of the ARC Schools Trust. We started off in 2012 with about 3 primary schools and have grown to over 400 partner primary schools throughout the UK today. Within that decade, we've worked really closely with trusts like ARC, but now have moved into other trusts so that we can actually get really positive and constructive feedback from our partners to develop and evolve our programme into the programme that we believe is a subject excellence programme today, and of course has that positive impact. Rather than just taking my word from it, we have some results from ARC schools who've been using our programme now for the last decade, and their results, as you can see, is above national average in both reading, writing and maths combined, but also in maths in isolation. And what makes that even more impressive is that it's more than twice the amount in ARC schools in terms of number of pupils who are disadvantaged. So that really just goes to show that we are empowering all children within our schools to be able to make that progress and not just succeed in maths, but enjoy maths and be ready for that next phase of education. So I'm going to expand a little bit more on what we mean by mathematics mastery. But before I do that, I do want to share some impacts from a partner school. I mentioned we'd be sharing little quotes and little stories as we go. So I'm going to start by sharing this video from our partner school in Aldermore Farm in Coventry. So I'm just going to switch windows so that you can access this video and play it through the screen. So yeah, I'll let them show you their impact of using the programme.
School where every member of staff wants the absolute best for the children. When you walk around all of our corridors, all you see is just really happy children who want to be here, who want to learn and are excited for their future. Maths was a real area for development across our school. Many of our children didn't really like maths, it was not a lesson that they enjoyed. So one of the main things we wanted to do was introduce a maths programme that would allow all our children the opportunity to really enjoy and engage within their maths lessons, and to give all of our teachers the support that they so deserve.
My favourite thing about Mathematics Mastery is the 6-part lesson structure and how it is broken up for the children. We're able to use effective transitions where no second of the lesson is lost to move between those 6 parts of the lesson.
The children are really enjoying it. There's a lot more practical work for them to engage in, and quite often they'll say maths is fun. This lesson was the most fun maths lesson we've ever done.
Every unit is so well structured. It really looks deeply into the maths that is taking place. The CPD videos we have found invaluable at the school. Every time we watch them within year groups, quite often people will be saying, oh, I wish I taught like that in the past. I can't believe I didn't. It's just amazing the way they put it all together. It's reduced teachers' workload in terms of they're not having to create lots of slides all the time in different worksheets. It's all there for them.
We are able to focus on how we deliver it rather than what we're delivering.
Using Maths Mastery has really helped us get the consistency across the 3 classrooms. We've adapted how we plan our maths lessons, so we do a lot more collaborative planning now. Our teaching assistants have benefited as well, because I think it gives them the knowledge as well, and they see us using it, and then they're able to model that with the children that they're working with as well. And we now use the same concrete resources across the 3 classrooms.
I have noticed a change in my confidence since teaching maths with the Mastery programme. I'm more confident in what I'm teaching. They provide lots of subject knowledge and ideas for how we teach.
The professional development we've received has been the key to why it's been so successful so quickly in our school, I think. James has been our delivery lead, and he is really friendly, and no question is a silly question.
He actually sat down with us and we had all those resources, and he was just like as if we were pupil, and he was asking questions, and sometimes that was making us think as teachers.
I've then been involved in discussions about our next steps and where we're going forward, and we really feel supported by the ARC Maths Mastery team to push our journey forward.
Maths Mastery has already transformed the maths at Aldermore Farm.
Greatest change in my class in particular has been their confidence to talk. Using the talk tasks has improved their oracy skills.
They are drawing on their knowledge, they're building, and they're making references back to what they've learned.
when we move on to the next unit, if something to do with last week, they go back and they talk about, oh, Mrs. Gill, that was whole, and this is how we divide. And it's so nice to see that.
Already we can see it in the data as well. For the first time in Aldermore Farm history, we've got a good percentage of children in year 2 getting to greater depth. Well, at the same time, those children who sometimes find different parts of maths quite tricky, they're very much engaged within it and are making excellent progress. We were looking at all the maths lessons across school, and there was a moment where all the children in one class all spoke beautifully in full sentences using really high quality vocabulary. They could express their mathematical thinking so well, and I turned to our head and I said, we're getting there, this is going to be the most amazing school. And she completely agreed, and I know that's how all the staff feel as well.
We gather to assist Lauren in finding a date that we will all
Hold on.
like.
Bio?
The only fish you'll see in my hands is sushi.
Perhaps pause the video before it goes on to its next one there. Apologies. There we go. So we're going to expand now. You've seen a snapshot of the programme in action there, and we're going to talk now a little bit more about what Mastery is, and then we're going to go into the components of our programme. Just a reminder that that Q&A function is there. So if there's something you want to unpick a little bit more in a question, please pop it on the Q&A and we can be answering those with a bit more detail, a bit more bespoke to what you need with that feature. Okay, so what is Mastery and what's our approach to Mastery? Well, our programme is based upon the work of Dr. Helen Drury, who's now our Executive Director of Education at Art Curriculum. And she defines Mastery as the moment when actually we're able to apply our learning to a totally new problem or an unfamiliar situation in mathematics. Okay, so it's having that complete depth of understanding, being able to access maths so that actually we're able to apply it later on. And you can see there that she's done extensive work, including writing 2 books based upon that work. And over the last decade, as well as founding the Mathematics Mastery Programme, Dr. Helen Drury has also been influential working on as a member of the Ministerial Steering Group for Maths, being influential and giving advice to the DFE, and also working really closely with the setup and the ongoing use of Maths Hubs as well. So all of that work has been based upon the same principles as our programme. And whilst the inclusion of Maths Hub has been transformational in raising attainment at a national level, there are some schools which still need that support for that consistency in high quality teaching. And that's where our programme can fill that gap in order to make sure that teachers are equipped, as our mission stated earlier, and to be able to give that consistent support as well as having the curriculum materials available. So we're going to talk about how we do that. And we know, if we look at this quote, that the best lever in terms of transforming education and high quality teaching in a particular school is to focus on that quality teaching and trying to improve that. And we do that through a 5-step process, which I'm going to break down and talk through. The reason we have a 5-step process is to ensure that you have, as a partner, both immediate impact and sustained success as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through this diagram that's popped up, which is our framework for success. And you can see there are 5 steps: plan, train, teach, embed, and sustain. And also 5 different components, which we'll talk through in a moment. But if we start with the 5 steps of your journey with us. The first step as you join the programme will be planning. Now, from day 1, you'll have access to a subject expert. You heard them refer to James in the video, and he's one of our delivery leads, as am I. And we have a team of delivery leads that work for the programme who are all mathematics mastery specialists. You'll be working from them, from the moment you sign up, to create an implementation plan. We'll provide you with a remote call to begin with that will give a 360 review, taking into account your teacher's needs and making a plan of implementation that's going to work from you, bespoke goals and actions that will work from you. After that, it's train. So you'll have access to induction training pretty much straight away after that implementation call. We offer face-to-face and online induction training. Then step 3 is teach. You'll have access to all of our curriculum materials from the beginning, and of course after you've completed your training you'll be ready to implement them. Within our teaching materials we will go into detail with some of the components of them later, but we do have opportunities for assessment materials, in-lesson materials, and of course the long-term materials. I'll show you some examples later on, as well as the teaching materials. We have that ongoing CPD that's integrated into the programme, so that your induction training is not the end of that CPD. There are opportunities throughout, and again I will go into detail. And then, of course, it's about embedding the programme. Now, you'll have access to that subject expert, your delivery lead, over the course of time, who will conduct in-school visits and development sessions remotely to support you along your journey, as well as that continual professional development and assessments to inform your planning as well. And we want you to get to the point where actually we're in, as a place, as a school, to be in the position to sustain and continue to use assessment data and those teaching and learning resources and collaboration opportunities to maintain those high standards. And you can see at the bottom a rough timeline on that as well. Okay, so I'm going to take each of those components you can see underneath the 5 steps and talk a little bit more about what we offer. So in terms of school support, you can see it's highly valued by our partner schools, with 100% of mastery leads, who is our main contact for the school, usually the maths lead, agreeing that has made their implementation process a lot easier. And what you'll receive is contact from that dedicated development lead, and they will start with that Mastery 360 diagnostic call. That's where we get the views of all teachers and use those to talk together about a bespoke implementation plan, create goals and actions that are bespoke to you, and plan out your support throughout the year. That support will include school visits and online development sessions, as well as just having that person on the ends of an email or the ends of the phone to talk through any challenges or any successes that you'll be having. And just to get that reassurance, we want to make sure that the mastery leads that we're working closely with feel empowered and equipped to be able to lead that programme with confidence in their school, to really drive that. And that's the role of the development lead in a nutshell. Moving on to that second component within the framework, and you can see that continual professional development starting at that point of induction training that I spoke about. And of course, we would say that's a key to our programme. Our programme is not just a curriculum or an assessment and curriculum resource. Professional development is at the heart of our curriculum, and it's in how we empower those teachers. So I've just broken that down into different strands. So from the beginning, you will get a comprehensive induction training package, which will involve places on our face-to-face induction training events, as well as cutting-edge CPD online induction training as an option for some teachers who might find that more convenient. Now, after induction training, there are further modules for teachers to work through or for you to use as a group called our Teaching Mastery course. We also have live webinars every term, looking at upcoming content to support with subject knowledge, and we call those our Preparing to Teach webinars. And as a programme leader, so that's for our mastery leads that we work closely with, there is also an opportunity to gain a certification in programme leadership, which is a 3-year course for that mastery lead to be involved in, which builds over time to ensure that they're confident as a leader. Of course, part of the CPD is also those in-school visits that we provide, and we can actually, as part of that CPD, provide training sessions for not just the mastery lead, but we can also dedicate time to deliver some team training as well. Okay, and integrated into every unit of work, you will find videos that support subject knowledge based upon that particular concept that you're teaching. So there'll be on-demand training. For example, you can see that snippet there where you've got relating fractions to fractions of shape, and we've got all sorts of videos that show you how to do things like modelling using the concrete resources that we recommend, as well as using the technical language that we recommend. So there'll be lots of exemplars to really support that in the moment CPD. Okay, what we're going to do now is have another impact story. Perhaps we'll come back to this. Yeah. And we'll just move on to talking about assessment data. And as well as the curriculum materials, which we'll come on to, we do have inbuilt opportunities for both formative and summative assessment that are curriculum aligned. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a few snippets from our assessment materials, and then we'll go back to that impact story. Okay, so we've got our pre and post diagnostic quizzes. So in our curriculum, we have our curriculum's broken down into units, and at the beginning of every unit and at the end of every unit, there is a diagnostic formative assessment quiz. Now, these assessments have been transformational in making sure that teachers feel equipped and confident to take our resources and tailor them to pupils' exact starting points. So at every beginning of the unit, there's a quiz on the prerequisite knowledge they require. So prior to the unit, they'll take that quiz, which are short, snappy, multiple choice questions, which are designed in order to bring out any misconceptions with those incorrect answers. And then if there are things that we're finding are a gap, we can make sure that they're inbuilt into our teaching and make sure they're addressed. Then at the end of every unit, to support getting things into the long-term memory, there's an opportunity to review the whole unit content that can be used. So pre and post diagnostic quizzes. And these quizzes all come with guidance, which we call response signposts, that will tell you exactly what the misconception is if they get an incorrect answer. And it will also signpost you to resources that can support with that misconception. Okay, and there's a pre and post quiz for every single unit within that. And we've got there, another quote from a partner school talking about the impact those assessments have had within their school. As well as those more frequent quizzing formative assessments, we do have termly assessments as well. So we have an autumn, spring and summer written assessment, and we also partner with an organisation called SmartGrade, which is an online assessment system that you get free and included with your package with us, that allows us to standardize our assessments and give you opportunity to use question level analysis functionality and compare your results with other schools within the partnership. Okay, so it gives you the opportunity to do some comparison with your data. It means that your data will be part of a nationally representative pool of and allows you to do benchmarking to identify any areas and strengths for development. Okay, I think we're just going to go back now and hear from a school directly. I think we've got on the call Lindsay, hopefully. Lindsay, are you with us?
I am.
Fabulous. Lindsay, I'll let you introduce yourself, but Lindsay's going to talk for about 5 minutes or to 10 minutes just on the impact in her school, if that's okay. Are you ready to go, Lindsay?
I'm ready, yes.
Fabulous.
Everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we, well, first of all, our school is in a very high deprivation area in Bootle in Liverpool. I am the mastery lead in school and also assistant head, year 6 teacher, and I'm also the Senko as well. So we are quite a small school, so I hold quite a lot of roles. And we have 67% of our children are pupil premium and 39% are SEN. So that just gives a bit of a flavour as to the demographic of our school. And we have found the mastery programme to be transformative really in the first term that we've been using it. Prior to that, in my role, I've used White Rose, we've used the NCETM materials, and we used Power Maths over the last 4 years, and we've not seen the sort of impact that we have seen by using the Maths Mastery programme. And I think, sort of looping back to the video from Aldermore Farm, I would very much agree with a lot of what was said in that video. There is a real strong focus on teacher development and subject knowledge development, and the one word that I've written down, key to this programme, is consistency. If you're looking for a programme where you can achieve consistency across your school, then this is definitely the programme to use. And it was something that was missing from our school previously. So some teachers and some classes, you know, had strong practice, but others maybe not as strong, and also approaches were different, resources, trying to get consistency across, resourcing of sort of showing and displaying different concepts was really tricky. And this is just, everything is built in. I mean, I go to my Maths Hub meetings and there's a lot of jealousy in the group from other teachers, because they are having to put together resources that are just naturally built in to this programme. So things like starting from the very beginning with the training, we had our link lead, Rajan. She did an induction with all of the staff. So from day one, both teachers and TAs had the same message given, a consistent approach. The online platform is just phenomenal. I mean, it has everything in it, from your individual plans, your unit narratives, which, as Kate was mentioning before with the assessments, once you've done your pre-unit assessment, you can go into that unit narrative, you can get an overview of the different lessons that you're teaching, but it also signposts you to lessons from previous years or topics that you can go back to feed into your planning. So if you've done that pre-diagnostic test and you can see a gap across your class, or something that, you know, needs to be a prerequisite really that the children need before they do that lesson, that is all built in for you, alongside videos that you can go and watch to really, you know, help in terms of teachers' subject knowledge and again, that consistency of approach. Alongside that, there's also the task sheets, so the scaffolding that is just naturally built into the resources, again, which other schools in my local Maths Hub are having to create themselves or source from different places. It's all built in for you, which feedback from teachers has been a reduction in workload. You know, they're not having to go to find these things anymore. It's all built in. And again, because it's part of a programme, it's consistent across the school. So the visual representations are consistent. The use of language is consistent. I know, again, on the video, Aldermore Farm, they mentioned about the use of STEM sentences and the language that the children are using. Just a bit of a flavour from our school, we have a high percentage of children on our STEM register who have speech and language difficulties, and we have 3 times the national average number of children diagnosed with ASD. The use of STEM sentences through the Mastery programme has really strengthened our children's oracy skills and ability to articulate their mathematical thinking, which again is consistent across the school. So that's been a really key sort of impact for us. In my role, we have had a trust review just before half term, and going round the classes and going round in the first few weeks of this being implemented, I've been absolutely blown away by the impact in class. And one of the teachers on the video, and she said, you know, about sort of the feeling of pride, and I smile from ear to ear every time I go into a class, because the quality of what those children are getting now is fantastic. And the main things that come through to me when I'm going through monitoring are things like the use of manipulatives. Every class is using concrete materials linked to the visual representations, and then that is built upon from when you go from year 1 through to year 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 6. You can see that consistency. The use of language, the STEM sentences are consistent across the school. And I think that's been a real strength of this programme. Also, alongside that, I don't know whether, Kate, you've mentioned yet about the maths meetings.
Not yet, no.
So we have we have the obviously our mastery lesson, but we also have the maths meetings. And again, particularly for our younger children, that dovetailing with the mastering number that we're doing has given the children the language to be able to connect their thinking across different areas of maths. So again, you know, that's been really good. I've put down here in terms of impact, we have full engagement now in lessons. Every lesson I go into, every child is taking part. Children enjoy their maths. We did some pupil interviews just before half term, and all of the children said how much they're enjoying this programme, because it is so hands-on and it's very much talk based. Teachers' subject knowledge in a very short period of time has significantly improved, and I think, you know, part of that has come from the level of information, videos, training sessions that you get on the platform, and then also throughout the year. So we've already had our first visit from Raj, and being able to work together, look at next steps, support teachers as in a really supportive way as well, has been invaluable. Yeah, and everybody just wants to be a part of it. You know, the teaching assistants, we're only just into a term in, and we're already looking at implementing the intervention programmes and sort of rolling that out for our, as I say, because we've got such a high level of SEN across our school. And I said to Raj when she came in, I said, I can't believe from such a short period of time how we are being able to accelerate implementation. But I think that's very much because of the support we get, both, as I say, visits into school and also the online platform. It's literally got everything on it. And as a maths lead as well, and if you're due Ofsted at any point in the near future, there is so much information on there for you as a lead that you can take to use to support your own role in school. I just, you know, I think it's value for money. And everybody, well, when I went to the Maths Hub training, everybody in the room said, why has everybody not got access to this? This should be a staple of everybody's maths diet in school. So thank you.
Lindsay, thank you so much. It just brings it home, like the reason why we're doing this, when we hear those sort of impact stories. And like I said at the beginning, like we really do just care about transforming education and giving every pupil the access that they need. And it's so nice to hear that you've had that sort of immediate impact, which we talked about earlier, that you will receive some immediate impact. Lots of schools bring out things like the language, the maths meetings as having an effect straight away when they adopt our programme, as well as that long-term impact that you'll get, you know, by training up staff over time as well, and getting to that point of the consistency in terms of when it's really embedded and sustained. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And Lindsay, as you mentioned, this is just the first year of implementing the programme, so you can see, you know, how quickly that's had an effect on their school as well. We've just talked about assessment, so we're going to move on to have a look at some of the lesson and curriculum resources. So as Lindsay mentioned, we have got an extensive online platform where you get everything you can need. And in this webinar, we're only really going to scratch the surface. So if there's something in particular that you're really wanting from this, pop it a question in the chat or on the Q&A function. And I'm sure we've got, something somewhere to support. We are, having used and been working with teachers for the last decade, we have constantly been evolving and improving our curriculum offer so that, we do cater for the needs of all schools and all pupils with what we offer now. But I'm going to talk you through some of the highlights. So Lindsay mentioned the unit narrative. So we do have a coherently sequenced curriculum where learning is cumulative and built upon learning. And each unit also has an overview which we call a narrative, the journey of the unit, that we encourage teachers to engage with, alongside a tutorial video that also talks them through key misconceptions, key language, key resources they'll need for the unit. But this is where we expect teachers to be planning at that unit level, thinking about their pre-quiz, first of all, their children's starting points, and thinking about the journey of that unit. We usually build in some buffer time into that unit so that you can spread lessons out to be a little longer if you need them to, or if you need to move with that sequence, there is time for further depth as well. Our curriculum, as Lindsay said, will change the way teachers plan. It will support their workload in terms of they won't be having to source resources themselves. Everything is there that you need in terms of planning. However, we want to change the way teachers plan so that actually they're thinking less about creating resources from scratch and more about, well, actually, how can I use questioning in this lesson? What might my language look like in this lesson? How can I use those sentence stems? And how can I get pupils involved? So we're thinking a lot more about the pedagogy and the delivery of the lesson rather than having to start from scratch with the resource making. And you can see that backed up there in that quote there from Kanwaljit. Okay, so that's at a unit level at a glance, and we're now going to go into a lesson level. Now you can see our lesson structure on the screen here. So each lesson has a 6-part lesson structure, and we do that to ensure that in every lesson there are plenty of opportunities for mathematical talk and language, for mathematical thinking, fluency, problem solving, and reasoning throughout the lesson. So there are multiple opportunities for assessment for learning, for being responsive to pupils, and for pupils to take part in not just written mathematics, but also verbal mathematics. There's a big emphasis on use of pupils articulating mathematical language and putting that into their thinking. It will also give them opportunity to explore using the representations. So the CPA approach, the use of concrete, pictorial and abstract representations are integrated into all of our lessons. And there will be plenty of support with the videos that are in every unit that show you how to use them, but also at a teaching level about how to model using our teaching mastery modules in order to sort of upskill staff on that. But you'll find that most of that is embedded into the lessons themselves. So they'll pick up the use of those routines quite quickly. And as Lindsay said, this really helps with consistency across the school. You'll find that every class is using the same lesson structure, and you'll be able to explain that as a leader and have a real clear vision of what maths looks like in your school, and that's happening throughout. The things like the star words you can see on the screen, which is shared at the beginning of every lesson, will be a routine that's just embedded with pupils articulating that language. And then later on in their lesson, taking part in their talk task, where they have a go, they explore, they use manipulatives and their mathematical language and star words. So this lesson structure really supports mastery and consistency within your school of quality teaching. Now, as well as the slides, which you can see, you also do get a fully comprehensive lesson guide that will go into a bit more detail about how to deliver that lesson slide and where to be dynamic and move away and use concrete, and give you some guidance on that as well. You'll also get the task sheets to support you in the lesson as well, which, as Lindsay said, do come with scaffolded examples and more challenging examples as well. Now, outside of our main Maths Mastery lesson, which is designed, to do in your usual hour of maths, we do recommend that there is a daily section called a maths meeting for 10 to 15 minutes a day, or at least a few times a week, where we have a go at retrieving and consolidating prior knowledge. These are meant to be daily and enjoyable verbal sessions outside of the maths meeting, outside of the maths lesson, and they are a maths meeting. And what we find is that children absolutely adore these, and this is where they really feel success, because we're going over prior content, we're helping them remember content and getting that content into their long-term memory, and they're enjoying it. There's lots of games, chanting, singing if you're up for it in a maths meeting, but also an opportunity to really look at knowledge, factual fluency and key facts, and revisit topics that you might not have done for a while. You can see there in this math meeting, this teacher doesn't have to necessarily create a lot of resources. He uses a display board as a prompt to just use activities that are based on routines over time. So I might do the same type of activity each day until it's embedded, but maybe tweak aspects of it and build upon practice. So opportunities like time, which you can see the clock there, where we only teach it once a year, and then next year we come back to it and pupils have forgotten it and we have to kind of reteach the prior year's content. That's what we want to avoid with maths meetings, doing that daily practice to keep things in the long-term memory, so that when we start new learning, we're able to have the starting points that are required in order to move children on, hopefully without those gaps. Okay, now as you can see on the right, maths meetings do come with each term has some guidance on everything you need to cover in those maths meetings, but they are left fairly flexibly to how you want to deliver them yourself. So you can use a display board, and lots of teachers choose to use slides or concrete manipulatives as well. The other thing that was mentioned by Lindsay is our intervention package, and you can see there that this is award-winning in terms of it's been credited by different organisations with its impact. And these are all called our Ready to Progress interventions. You might recognise the term Ready to Progress because they are based upon the DFE's guidance, which provides statements of all the key areas in each year group that children need in order to be ready to progress to the next year group. So it's based upon those statements. And what we have done is taken those statements and created interventions that support embedding of that content. So each of those statements has at least one, or potentially broken down into 1, 2, or 3 intervention packs that contain pupil-facing videos and structured activities for purposeful practice in those key concepts. And those activities really embed what our key principles of talk, reasoning, fluency, problem solving. They definitely promote that conceptual understanding. I have missed out that point on diagnostic placement quizzes. Before children interact with our interventions, we think it's important to make sure that they are hitting the gaps that they need to. So there are some placement quizzes to make sure that you can use that information to inform the planning of the correct intervention for your children. So this is a complete intervention programme that ranges from the Year 1 Ready to Progress statements all the way to the Year 6 Ready to Progress statements. And again, it's something that is included in your package. So you won't need to go elsewhere for your intervention resources. I should also mention that these do come with teacher guidance and teacher training in order to get you set up with those separate to our main induction training. There's further information on those. Okay, now I've gone through all of this and I can't believe I haven't mentioned our dimensions of depth, and that is going back to Helen Drury's work on mastery and the pedagogy in which our programme is based upon. So in every lesson, and something that underpins every professional development session and support session that we give, we think about these three things: supporting pupils with language communication, developing pupils' conceptual understanding, and supporting pupils with opportunities for mathematical thinking. Now, these are not just picked arbitrarily, they were designed in Helen Drury's work when she asked herself, what is it that is preventing higher retaining pupils from accessing further depth? And what is it that's a barrier for lower retaining pupils in being able to access their mathematics lesson and access a problem? And she actually found that these three things were common to both of those answers to those questions, that if we want to support all pupils, we can be working on these things. And in the heart of that is being able to be a mathematical problem solver. That's the reason we do maths in the first place. We want them to be equipped to be able to solve that unfamiliar problem that we mentioned at the beginning. So whenever you look at, our training resources, it will have these three things in mind: language and communication, conceptual understanding, and developing mathematical thinking. Okay, so we've talked already around 4 of our 5 components, and the last one I want to talk about is the fact that we are a partnership of schools. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we now work with over 400 schools, and we are growing through the EF Scale Up project. So there will be plenty of opportunities for collaboration with other schools. And I'll talk through some of those now. So we do have in-person CPD events, and that starts with your in-person induction training that you'll get places on. And that's an opportunity to network with other mastery leads, potentially lots of other new mastery leads if you're new to the programme, who are going through the same implementation process as you. We also do have our programme leadership course, and although that is a remote course, there will be an opportunity to develop a cohort of new mastery leads and repeated opportunities to all attend the same sessions. So there will be opportunities to be able to connect in the breakout rooms and talk to each other. But one of the leading things that we do for community is our annual conference, which is a phenomenal event that takes part not just with mathematics mastery, but our English mastery colleagues and our other ACP programme colleagues all attend that. So it's a room full of such wealth of experience and knowledge, and there'll be workshops to attend that you can choose based upon what you need to develop in your section. And this year we are hosting it in Birmingham. We've hosted it in London previously, so we do tend to change up the location, but every time we do, we always get such great feedback about what an inspirational and motivational experience that is, and you can see that coming out in that data there. Okay, so we're going to go now to some of the more practical elements of joining the programme, and I have got Sophie on the call as part of our partnerships team to talk through this section.
Thank you, Kate. So much amazing information has been shared today. So just on the logistical side of the subsidy, so Kate, I don't know if you've spoken about why we've got the subsidy and kind of the background behind it.
Briefly in terms of the impact and the 2 months progress, but feel free to reiterate and build upon that.
Amazing, perfect. Yes, so as Kate has said, it has come out of our EES efficacy study that was done in 2014, and this subsidy is part of the DFE Accelerator Fund. So there has been a set amount set aside to help programmes similar to ours really kind of grow and get that impact across the country. So we are in our 2nd year of our subsidy. So we're just about to get our 3rd cohort starting in January. The subsidy is pretty expansive as to who is eligible. You basically have to be a mainstream state school in England that has a Key Stage 1. So it's really open to the majority of the schools, which is amazing. So we do have 2 sets of subsidies. We have our reception and Key Stage 1 subsidy, which is listed at £1,110, and that is an 80% discount. So the EEF and DFE are subsidising 80% of that programme. And then we have our whole school, so from reception to year 6, which is at £2,150, and that's about a 70% subsidy. It is a 2-year subsidy, so you can start We've got one cohort starting this January, so you would get the remainder of this school year and the following year subsidised. Or we have our final cohort starting next September, and that would be subsidised for the academic year 24-25 and 25-26. So a really nice long subsidy to make sure that you are embedding it. As Kate has said, you get a lot of our support and our development leads coming in to really support you guys and being able to make sure that you are embedding it really well and can really work together to make sure it's embedded and you're getting that impact that you really hope to see. I don't know if I can go to the next slide, Kate. Thank you. So what you can do is, if you are interested in finding out more information, you can either jot down that email address there, or there is a QR code to directly book a call with myself or one of the other members of the partnership team, so we can just chat about it with you a little bit further to see how it would suit your schools and how we can help you.